Hi, and welcome to Shift, a space where we listen, learn, and inspire to act. Our guests today are Michelle Edwards, Trinity's Council President. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
And Troy Koltes, the Senior Pastor Call Committee Chair. Well, we are going to hear about the call, the process, and the vote today. And so, Troy, I know you are excited about the candidate.
We're thrilled. We had a session a couple weeks ago where we conducted back-to-back second interviews of two different candidates. And at the end of that session, we were all unanimous in our choice. And boy, the feeling of exhilaration when we came to our decision was visible. It was a Zoom meeting, and so we couldn't feel it in the room, but boy, we could sure see it on everybody's face on the Zoom meeting.
That is awesome. Michelle, this call has been about a year, which they say is typical. So Pastor Brian retired about this same time last year, and we've been busy, I think, or the leadership of the servant leadership has been really busy. Tell us how you discerned the qualities that we would like in a senior pastor.
Sure, happy to. So yeah, about this time when Pastor Brian retired last summer, of course, we put together the call for Pastor John at the same time. And with that starts the call process that Troy and others are part of. But at the same time, we also started working with a group with a process that we called We Are Here Now. And that was just to get a little bit deeper dive, even than we typically would do, to make sure that we really understood where we as a church community are and what we want for the future. And, that took a little bit of extra time, I think, maybe a little because of COVID, because we couldn't get together face to face. But that process made an even deeper, I think, it led to an even deeper understanding of what we were looking for. And some of the folks watching now might have participated either in those interviews. We also had a timeline event and a discernment process. And we're really grateful for everyone's contribution to those, because I think that the end result is an even more robust understanding of what we're looking for, and then guidance for the new pastor as he joins us.
Well, I think, right, we kind of see this as a new era for Trinity. And you both have worked so hard, and so many people have really put in so many hours for it, and lots of prayer. Troy, do you want to tell us about Adam Butler?
I'd be very happy to. He came to us through two internal referrals from within Trinity. That was the first introduction to him. And so when I got the first referral, I really just set it aside in a folder, because we were not at a point where we were really digging into candidates and doing a deep dive. So we really set it aside. Then as we started getting closer to the point where we were going to take a dive into these candidates, a second referral came from within Trinity for Adam as well. So now we've got two referrals. We go to the synod, and I had a list of candidates that we had been referred, and I submitted it to Pastor Craig Peterson at the synod, and he saw Pastor Adam's name and said, he was on the list, on the short list of people that we were sending over to Trinity. So we had 3 touches with him before we really even started to assess. And then when we started to assess his abilities there's so much online content due to COVID. Every church is recording services and sermons and studies and special messages and all sorts of things. So we got to observe quite a bit of his style and content and ability even before we talked to him the first time. And as we continued to watch, we surely got more and more excited about the possibilities. And that just grew over time as we did start the interviews. It only became more clear that that he was the right choice for us. And some of those things that we were looking for that Michelle had touched on through the We Are Here Now process are outstanding preaching. I mean, that's top of the list. You really need a senior pastor that commands the pulpit and can capture your attention and imagination, and makes you think and inspires you to act like you talked about with Shift. And we sure got a lot of that from observing his preaching. And then such an emphasis on youth and family came out through all of those meetings. And that's a strong suit of Pastor Adams. Certainly he will not be in the position to be leading a lot of that directly, but he will bring a great insight and a great mentorship to the people who are in the positions of doing the day-to-day youth and family ministry. So those are two aspects. Yeah.
Excuse me. Those are great. Michelle, the council voted unanimously to approve this call.
They did.
And then-
Yep. Mhm.
And so what is the next thing that's going to happen?
So on the 29th of August, we have a congregational meeting, and we hope everybody will participate. And so the next part of the process is for the congregation to approve us extending the call. So we'll have a discussion and vote then, and we certainly hope that the congregation will approve this, and then we extend the call formally to Pastor Adam. He'll need some time, of course, to transition with his own congregation, and then we'll look forward to having him join us here in the fall.
So Troy, I received, and Michelle, I received the letter to the congregation about Adam, which was an awesome letter. Thank you. And I noticed that he has been an associate pastor, a youth minister, and of course, has his Master of Divinity from Luther, and he's a Gusty. I know. Well, so they're starting to take over again, which is fine. But he has not been a senior before. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you guys want to both speak to why you still, why you're so excited about him?
I will certainly take a swing at that. A couple of points that came through in our research through Church Innovations and We Are Here Now is that we really need to find a way to connect with the young families and that younger generation, that generation that is not really anxious to get into church. And in order to do that, as a call committee and other leadership, we kind of said, the best person to relate to those young families is somebody that's going to be in that position, that is that has a young family. So that's one thing. Second thing is, I think there was a little bit of sadness, I would say, about the shorter duration of Pastor Brian's tenure at Trinity. And for me, God bless Pastor Brian. He was a terrific asset to our congregation, and he felt it was his time to move on, and that's great. But I think that there were some people that were hoping for another at least few years. And so in order to accommodate a longer tenure as a senior pastor, you kind of have to work the age backward a little bit and perhaps call a younger pastor. And so that was a consideration as well. Certainly not top on our list, but if you want somebody to stay for 10 years, 15 years or beyond, you have to start with a younger pastor. So that was a consideration as well. Then in terms of his actual experience, he was really put in a position at his existing church where he had to assume some senior pastor duties for a stretch of time. And we spoke with a couple of people within Paynesville Lutheran, where he's coming from, that spoke very highly of his ability to take those reins and lead that staff and that congregation. So those all were contributors to making us feel good about a young pastor.
And I would say that, we talked about this a lot on the council during our discussions as well, but ultimately, we feel that the call committee did a great job investigating this to make sure that they could confidently recommend someone who's ascending into this role. But also we've done a lot of work, as everyone knows, over the past year to make sure that he's got a really solid team in place backing him up. And so one of the challenges with the church of our size is to manage both the spiritual side and the administration of simply running a large church. And so we've got Sarah Tachik, who's joined us as the executive director of operations, who can take on a lot of that burden and leave Pastor Adam free to lead to do all of the pastoral and spiritual work that we need him to do. And so the combination, I think, too, will be a really powerful one for him as he takes on this new role. And of course, the other church leaders we have in Mark and now in Jason and others is just terrific. So we're confident that with the team we have in place, he's got a whole lot of support as he takes on this role.
That's great. Well, the timeline, if we are able to get that vote completed, the next step is there's something else. I think the actual something needs to go out, right?
So
Some paperwork?
Yeah, and Michelle, you can perhaps speak to this a little bit more clearly, but once the congregation has voted, assuming that is an affirmative vote, then the formal letter of call goes out, and that's the point at which he will likely inform his congregation and start the transition plan.
Great. Well, we hope to see him here this fall. And meanwhile, we have a lot going on. And as you said, Michelle, there's a very strong staff that is working on numerous things, but certainly among them, the children, youth, and family, just the strategy for that and involving more and more families. And we have a Welcome Sunday, September 12th. So mark your calendars for that. There'll be worship and then followed by a farmer's market, shift outdoors, kids activities, food. Yes, and the Vikings game is until noon, so you should be okay.
Time.
Well, thank you both for your work on this and for your commitment to Trinity. And Troy, I heard someone say that they thought the call committee was really led by the Holy Spirit to get this fit. And I don't want to end before we talk about the people on the call committee and their commitment as well. And just you had a really good span of ages.
We did. I'll just list the folks. We really tried to get some younger families, some families with grown or growing kids, and then some people that have grandkids. That was kind of the range we were looking for. And in that younger family group, Cassie Enzenauer and Gavin Tempero were the representatives on call committee. And in that grown or growing kids group, it was Karen Randolph, Adam Holmes, and then I would be in that category as well. And then the folks with grandkids were John Sweeney and Susan Vickerman. And I'll tell you, everybody at different times of this process really stepped up and did a tremendous job. It was a excellent group to work with, and I feel very lucky to have been able to get to know them better over this stretch of months.
Thank you. We are all grateful. And see you Sunday when we vote for Pastor Adam, August 29th.
Great.
Thanks.